Lux, the number 9 batter. Runners on first and third. And a hook shot down the right field line. Taylor is streaming around third. It's an RBI double for Lux. He gets his redemption about 2.5 hours later. And the Dodgers win it 5-4 as they come from behind and end the Phillies winning streak and win it here in the bottom of the 9th inning.
And Tom McCarthy on that call, I thought it was an awful loss. A team that's been treading water would have finished the road trip at 6-1 with their first 4-game sweep in L.A. since 1985. Not to be. Of course, the Dodgers rally in the 9th. Mr. McCarthy says hello here on High Heat. Tom, a pleasure. And listen, they're playing a little better. It was a better week, so you like that. But I thought that was, it's almost like you lost the series when you lose a game like that on Sunday afternoon. Thank God they had a day off after that.
You know, it was a tough one, Chris. I mean, obviously they had it. They were up 4-1. They scored the 4 unearned runs. I think part of it is that they had done such a really good job of adding on as the series went on in Los Angeles, and they were unable to do it in that game on Sunday. It was still a really good road trip, though. And I say that because the road has been a real problem for the Phillies over the last several years. So the fact that they were able to take 5 of 7 from Seattle and Los Angeles, particularly 3 of 4 from Los Angeles, that was a big deal. It really was. It was a tough loss. There's no doubt about that. But the fact that they took 3 of 4 from the Dodgers and, you know, got themselves at least toward the 500 mark was a pretty big deal.
Now, listen, if they lost 7-1 Sunday, I wouldn't be as upset by it. But their bullpen still, and it's going on for a long time, Tom, still does not get the big outs in the big spot. I still don't trust it. Sunday is a perfect example. Bullpen's still a major problem. Let's discuss.
You know, I think the big thing, Chris, with the bullpen are the walks. You know, so many walks allowed in that series against the Dodgers, and they were able to sidestep them except for that game on Sunday. So I think that's one of the biggest things that they have to deal with. I mean, the opposition OPS is not overwhelming, but just putting too many guys on in key spots, I think they'll admit to you that has to be adjusted if this team is going to be in contention down the road. And they have a really good starting staff. I mean, they really do. But, you know, they've flown a few of Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola starts these last couple of weeks that, you know, you kind of need those when those guys leave with leads.
Yeah, 100%. The Harper elbow issue, it sounds like he's going to be a DH for the foreseeable future, at least a month. What's your update with that? What can you tell me there?
Well, I think the advantage for the Phillies on that one, Chris, is that they had extra outfielders, and I mean that because Castellanos and Schwarber and Harper, you know, may have rotated at the designated hitter position. That's the throw where we saw it for the first time, where it bothered his elbow. So it is a new injury, according to the latest analysis of it. So he received the injection on Sunday. Hopefully he can play tomorrow. Joe did not say that he couldn't play today, but I think they're going to wait till tomorrow. He has embraced this designated hitter role better than I think he thought he would. He's adjusted to it. And they have the extra outfielders with Castellanos playing right, who has played a decent right field while Bryce has been out. Obviously, Schwarber playing left field. So they can manage this as long as the elbow can sustain itself. They can manage this for the foreseeable future. I'm convinced of it.
A lot of series against the Mets, and they go back there at the end of the month. They'll only give them 2 series against the Mets the rest of the year, and they haven't even played the Braves yet. Funky schedule for the Phillies, and they haven't played the Mets that well. Let me hear your take there. Go ahead.
Yeah, they haven't. And again, they've blown some games. Obviously, the 7-1 game is the one that is magnified the biggest. They haven't played the Braves. They haven't played the Nationals. It's strange. I mean, but I guess it's just the way the schedule breaks out. By the time they finish with the Mets next week, they'll have played them 13 times. And you're right. They will only have the 2 series left against them toward the end of the year. I think overall, they've got to play better against the division. And I think if you've seen what the Braves have done the last couple of years and teams previously, they've won against the division. And the Phillies haven't been able to do that against the Marlins in particular at times. They've got to be able to get above 500 and better in the division.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, this team needs to be in the postseason. I love Girardi, but, you know, the owner spent a fortune. Dombrowski wants to win. I mean, this is his 3rd year. 82-80, 3 out at the end of the day, not in the postseason, is not what they're looking for in Philadelphia. Fan-wise, ownership-wise, GM-wise. Let me hear your take there. Go ahead.
Yeah, or Joe Girardi wise too. I mean, you know him, Chris, as good as well as anybody. I mean, it bugs the heck out of him that they have not been to the postseason, but he understands what's ahead of him. You know, he's been around long enough to know that that this is a huge year for him individually. But I think he's deflecting it toward the team more than anything else. But they've got to get to the postseason. There's no doubt about it. They've put together a payroll and a roster that dictates a postseason berth. They've just got to play better in tight situations. And I think that's the biggest thing for them. I do think the offense, I mean, we look at what they've done the last 3 weeks. This is what they envisioned for the offense. And they've envisioned it for the starting pitching. They've gotten good starting pitching. And I think the Eflin start tonight is big because he's back off the COVID list and he's got to pitch well. And I think that, I think Joe understands what's ahead of him. I mean, this is, as he'll tell you, it's not his first rodeo, and you know that too. It's it's win for this ball club. They can't take this disappointment again.
And last thing, Tom, is the schedule. They're in the midst of a hard stretch here with the Mets and Seattle the Dodgers again. Here comes San Diego. We'll eventually see Atlanta. This is a tough stretch of games. So far, they've navigated it okay. Tough stretch of games for this Phillies team. Thoughts there?
Yeah. And you can't look back, but obviously those 2 games against the Rangers where they lost those 2 were really bad. I mean, this stretch would look even better if they had performed better against the Texas Rangers, and obviously in that series against the Mets. So, yeah, it is a tough road. I mean, it is. But they have this road trip, despite the loss Sunday, Chris, really did help. There's no doubt. I mean, it's a good bunch. I mean, it really is. And, you can see it in the way they act in the clubhouse, the way they act in the dugout. Segura has been unbelievable. I mean, you look at his 12-game hitting streak that you popped up on the board right there. He's been phenomenal for this team. But, yeah, this is a stretch that they've navigated well, and they got to keep doing it. I mean, this next week is a tough one. I mean, then you go to Atlanta for a series before going back to New York.
Last thing, Tom, I just thought of this, too. You've been doing these games for a long time. Not a lot of offense, not a lot of home runs so far this year. It's weird the way it works with these baseballs. They just can't seem to get uniformity on it. There's such a disparity year to year. Yeah. Now we put them in a humidifier so the ball doesn't leave the ballpark. Last year they leave the ballpark all the time, like a Titleist scout ball. Very odd. What have you seen so far in that department? Let me hear.
Well, Chris, I've seen, our ballpark obviously is one where the ball usually flies. And there have been some balls that have been hit that off the bat, you're thinking that's gone. And they're just dying at the warning track or dying at the wall. It's not even the hitters. I mean, it's not only the hitters, but the pitchers have complained about it too. They've talked about throwing baseballs out that after they're hit, there's a little soft spot to them. So I think that, obviously they have to figure something out to make sure that there's uniformity. It is amazing that we talk about this every single year, but the ball definitely is not flying. I mean, the numbers dictate that. And hopefully as the weather warms up, we might have a little difference in opinion, but it doesn't seem that way. I will say the ball was jumping out of Dodger Stadium this past weekend. I mean, they hit the ball hard, but the ball was jumping out of Dodger Stadium this weekend.
Yeah, hot weather and everything else. Tom, always a pleasure. Keep in touch. Thanks for a few minutes here today. Always appreciate it.